The night I threw the black tie gala in my glass-walled Portland penthouse, my family finally met the man I married. One look at his face, and my mother dropped her champagne flute. It didn't shatter. It just rolled across the marble like it was too scared to make a sound. That was the moment the past crawled back into the room, wearing a tuxedo. I grew up in a colonial in Providence that looked like a wedding cake somebody forgot to cut. From the sidewalk, it screamed money, manners, legacy. Inside, it smelled like lemon polish and performance. My mother, Evelyn, directed every scene. My sister, Harper, was the star who never had to audition. I was Nora, the spare, the quiet one who fixed the Wi-Fi and then disappeared so the adults could keep praising Harper's cheekbones. Evelyn used to brush Harper's hair in the kitchen while guests waited in the other room. She photographs like a dream. She'd sigh, as if beauty were a moral virtue. Then her eyes would slide to me, ponytail, hoodie, debugging code on my laptop, and the temperature dropped 5 degrees. My father, trying to balance the scales, would mutter, "Nora's the brilliant one." Evelyn's reply never changed. "Brilliance doesn't fill a church on your wedding day, darling." I learned early that love in our house was a limited resource, and I was never first in line.
College was supposed to be escape.
That's where I met Julian, grad student, gentle laugh, the kind of guy who remembered how you took your coffee and actually cared if your algorithm compiled. For the first time, someone looked at me like I was the main character. When I brought him home for Thanksgiving, Dad clapped him on the back. Harper offered a perfect smile. Evelyn studied him the way a jeweler studies a diamond, tilting her head, checking for flaws, calculating carats. She's always been so independent, Evelyn told Julian later, pouring him wine I wasn't offered. Almost solitary. You seem like someone who needs warmth. Translation: Harper is warmer. Harper better. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself that a lot. Then came the little fractures. Julian canceling plans because your mom asked me to swing by. She sounded upset. Julian knowing details about Harper's new job before I did. Julian staring a beat too long when Harper walked into a room. I started finding traces. Coffee cups in his car with Harper's coral lipstick, a playlist on his phone titled H. I confronted him once, quietly. He touched my cheek and said, "You're exhausted for midterms. You're seeing things that aren't there." So I swallowed it because I was tired of being the paranoid one. The night I found out the truth, I drove home without telling anyone. Snow had started to fall, soft and treacherous. I let myself in with the key under the ceramic frog. The house was dim except for the Christmas tree lights and the fire. I heard them on the couch. Julian's head bent toward Harper, Evelyn sitting across like a proud director watching her masterpiece unfold. Evelyn's voice floated down the hall, calm and surgical. "Harper needs someone steady, Julian. Nora's brilliant, but she lives in her head. You'll drown up there. Harper will keep you in the world." Julian didn't argue. He just nodded, slowly, like a man accepting a better offer. I stood frozen until the grandfather clock chimed 10. Then I walked back into the snow, got in my car, and drove west until the Atlantic was behind me and the hurt had nowhere loud enough to find me. I changed my name, my number, my life. Built a cybersecurity firm that quietly became worth 9 figures. Learned that revenge is just grief with good lighting. 5 years later, I sent the invitations on heavy cream stock. A holiday party at my new home on the water. My mother RSVP'd for 4. I smiled when I read it. They arrived in couture and practice charm. Dad spotted me first and waved like nothing had happened. Harper glided in on 4-inch heels, still radiant. Evelyn wore pearls and the faint smirk of a woman who always wins. I greeted them at the door myself. "So glad you could make it." Then I turned and called over my shoulder, "Sweetheart, come say hello." Footsteps crossed the marble. My husband appeared, tall, dark-haired, the same gentle laugh lines at his eyes.
"Julian."
He slipped an arm around my waist and extended his hand to my mother. "Mrs. Whitmore," he said, voice like velvet over steel. "It's been a while." The color drained from Evelyn's face, so fast I thought she might faint. Harper made a small wounded sound. Dad just stared like he was trying to solve an equation that refused to balance. Julian smiled down at me, the same smile that once felt like sunlight, now sharpened into something glorious. Sorry I'm late, love. Traffic from the airport was murder. I leaned into him, tasting victory. Everyone, this is my husband, Dr. Julian Whitmore. The room was very quiet except for the jazz trio in the corner and the soft pop of another champagne cork. Evelyn finally found her voice. Nora, how? I lifted my glass. Funny thing about limited resources, Mother. Sometimes the spare air turns out to be the one who multiplies. Then I toasted my family, the ones who taught me exactly how much I was worth, and drank to the sound of their perfect world cracking, one flawless shard at a time.